So hi everyone. So before I start to discuss what my topic is all about, I want to give you a short introduction of myself first. So for those who don't know me, so you could easily remember me. So by the way, I am Fredmark Uy, but you can call me Mark for short. I am a talented, ambitious, and hardworking individual. So let's move on. So my topic is all about inductive teaching and deductive teaching. So first, let's define first what is inductive teaching. Inductive teaching is a constructivist model of teaching that is more student-centered. In inductive teaching, first provide examples. Of course, if you are a teacher and if you have something to tell to your student or you're going to do to an activity, you should provide first an example to better understand. So then have student practice and figure out the rules themselves. This method of teaching is more experiential and based on a guided discovery learning philosophy. The inductive method of teaching means that the teacher presents the rule through situations and sentences and thus guided practice. Then, the learners do free practice. And after that, the teacher deduces or elicits the rule from the learners themselves by themselves. So, for example, if the structure to be presented is the comparative form, the teacher would begin the lesson by drawing a figure on the board and saying, "This is Jim. He is tall." Then, the teacher would draw another taller figure next to the first saying, "This is Phil." So, basically, he is taller than Jim. The teacher would then provide many examples using students and items from the classroom, famous people, or anything within the normal daily life of the student to create an understanding of the use of the structure. So, the student repeat after the teacher, after each of the different examples, and eventually practice the structures meaningfully in groups or pairs. With this approach, the teacher's role is to provide meaningful context to encourage demonstration of the rule, while the student evolve the rules from the examples of its use and continued practice. We are now done in defining what is inductive teaching means is. So let's proceed now on what is the deductive method of teaching is. Deductive method of teaching is a more traditional form of teaching. Why? Because in deductive teaching, you typically provide information like lecture like that. Share a specific example of the concept or skills being taught. So this is a more teacher-centered model of teaching that is rule-driven. So some of the positive of this method are that it is time-saving and gets to the point of the lesson easily. So for example, if the structure to be presented is present perfect, the teacher would begin the lesson by saying, "Today, we are going to learn how to use the present perfect structure." Then, the rules of the present perfect structure would be outlined and the student would complete exercises. So, in a number of ways to practice using the structure, so in this approach, the teacher is the center of the class and is responsible for all the presentation and explanation of the new material. So to conclude, we can say that inductive method is a predecessor of deductive method. Any loss of the time due to slowness of this model is made up through the quick and time-saving process of deduction. Deduction is a process particularly suitable for a final statement, and induction is more suitable for exploration of new fields. Probably in induction is rise to certainly in deduction. So the happy combination of the two is most appropriate and desirable. We are done in defining inductive teaching and deductive teaching. Now, we are going to know the differences between the inductive and deductive teaching. The inductive teaching method or process goes from the specific to the general and may be based on specific experiments or experimental learning exercises, while deductive teaching method progresses from general concept to the specific use of application. So, always remember that induction and deduction are per-based element in critical thinking. They are also somewhat misunderstood terms. Arguments based on experience or observation are best expressed inductively, while arguments based on laws or rules are best expressed deductively. So, most arguments are mainly inductive. In fact, inductive reasoning usually comes much more naturally to us than deductive reasoning. Inductive teaching moves from specific details and observation to the more general underlying principle or processes that explain them. For example, in Newton's law of gravity, the premises of an inductive argument are believed to support that conclusion but don't ensure it. Thus, the conclusion of an induction is regarded as a hypothesis in the inductive method, also called the scientific method. Observation of nature is the authority. In contrast, deductive teaching typically moves general truths to specific conclusion. It opens with an expansive explanation and continues with predication for specific observations supporting it. Deductive reasoning is narrow in nature and it is concerned with testing on confirming a hypothesis. So this is the end of my video presentation. So if you have some queries and some question, don't hesitate to ask in the comment section. Thank you and God bless.